Greetings, ladies and gentle players. It is the first Friday of this January of 2022, and that makes it a wonderful day for basics. And also, a little something new. As you may have seen in one of my last videos, if everything has gone well, then I floated the idea of taking a down on their luck Q player who may or may not have aspirations of donhood one day. And here's what we're going to do. We are going to, in a moment, get a game with a volunteer. Okay, I want to make that explicitly clear. The person I'm having brought on in a minute, yeah, they're playing a volunteer, because I don't want to get us all banned on OGS. Considered it briefly, but I decided not to. And what we're going to do is I am not going to give this individual specific moves like, ha, you should play A1 now. No. I'm going to be asking a lot of questions about how they're thinking about their moves and trying to correct how they're thinking about their moves. That way, they can kind of get in the ballpark of the right idea. And it is my hope over the course of these coming weeks, as I nudge them kind of towards where they're supposed to be going, they'll get an idea for why they should be thinking that way, and thus be able to improve their play. Obviously, we'll go over the exact moves at the end of this, also with the person who's going to be playing this individual. I hope it all goes well. My greatest fear is the person that they're going to be playing is going to be playing differently because they know what we're doing. I would rather do this completely blind with the person not having any idea what's going on. That way we get the most true to life example. I think them knowing what's going on might skew this a little bit. I hope it doesn't. But I also don't want to get us all banned off OGS. So, what are you going to do? On that note, let's bring on and introduce my lovely guest. All right, and one thing I also should mention is sometimes I'm going to be probably asking you a question that is really, really obvious. It's not because I think you suddenly receive massive amounts of brain damage. I'm also making sure the Qs, the lower DDKs who are also watching the video later, are also kind of on the same page. So I might be asking you really, really obvious things. So if I ask you something really below your level, don't get offended or anything like that.
Oh, trust me, I have thick skin.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready,
yep, all good. I got it right in front of me. Now, opening should be fairly self-explanatory. Hard to go wrong in the opening, as long as we're doing corner, side, center. As we get stronger, we can deviate from going corner, side, center, but only after we understand how important these early moves are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Orthodox is pretty good. Any reason why you picked Orthodox just now?
So I've been playing this opening a lot. It gives me one solid corner to work with.
Mm-hmm. I also noticed that you picked the small enclosure rather than the high. Or the 2-space.
Any of the moves associated with the...
Okay, because see, this is... gonna need you to slow down a little bit here, however. Because there are a few things that I've noticed just now. One, you picked low, which is more thinking about territory more than influence, because that's the difference between third and fourth line stones. And then we're now going into kind of an influence opening. So I would have rather have had that high if that's what we were going to be aiming for. And there were some other options that we could have explored if we were going to try to keep playing for territory rather than influence. If we really want to go for territory, maybe we would have double Haned here, since all we're looking for is those points rather than building up some kind of framework. So we can kind of adjust our moves based on what we've played previously. I'm also noticing that you did play for you tried to play for Sente, which is good. I like it. But unfortunately, your opponent tried to fight you with R5. So I guess you're not completely familiar with the 3-3 Joseki. Would that be fair to say?
I thought that this was a pretty standard sequence. I extend up 3 times. We both get 3 walls, and then I take a 3 space.
It's standard up until he plays R5. Normally, I would expect after your Q6, he would small knight. Since he did not do that, we had to extend again, because what he's doing right now is fighting you again for Sente. To seeing who's going to, like, jump or back off or whatever first. This result here that we have right now, unfortunately, will be better for white than it is for black. Oh, that's something that I mentioned. There's no way this is rated, right?
Oh, it is rated.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry about that. But yeah, right now, what were you thinking about responding before I stopped you?
Hane at a P6.
And what can we anticipate your opponent's going to do in response?
Extend to R7 or Q7.
Absolutely not. He will go with the proverb double Hane at the head of 2 and 3 stones. So we can predict what he's going to respond with there and what the board is going to look like as a result. He's going to keep chasing you on the 7th line, which is rather unfortunate. Now, regretfully, there's very little you can do unless you try to fight him for Sente again, which is... This position is a little bit unfortunate. I'll go ahead and I'll just mention it. If you play R2 here, for example, you open up the cut at R6. So hopefully, if we play a move like that instead, we want him to respond and then defend his cut to give you Sente to play elsewhere, rather than keep giving him influence on like the 6th and 7th line that we could predict in if we just Hane here. But it's up to you which one you decide to pick.
All right. Well, I'm not one to throw suggestions away, so I will go with that.
Okay. Because right now we're just trying to make the best of a bad situation.
I had no idea that this was a bad result for black.
You seen this result before?
I have, but normally when I play it, they extend instead
Okay.
of double Hane.
Yeah. With very few yeah, in very few instances will you not be able to Hane once or twice at the head of 2 or 3 stones. Usually if there's like another stone on the side that's gonna cut you for free or something, then maybe not so much. But yeah. So here you have Sente because you've got your extension. He can keep you low later on. That's unfortunate, but it's better to get a big move in now rather than just keep defending the bottom and giving him more and more in that center. So what do we do with Sente? Sorry, how do we figure out where we need to play?
So my thought here is I'm looking at a knight's approach to the Q16 4/4. And that's because I want to back off and get a stone on Q10.
Okay. So anytime we approach, we can expect a possibility is getting pincered. Now, if the last part of what you just said is really, really important, that we want to make sure that we stay on that right-hand side, then we probably don't want to approach so much, as we probably try to want to find a split that will allow us to get a 2-space extension no matter how he plays. If, on the other hand, we approach and we get pincered and we're fine going into the corner, then we can just approach normally and just expect that result. I think in this particular situation, either are fine, because there's predictability in either of those ways we play. If we approach, he pincers, we go into the corner, we know where his territory is, we can plan how to reduce that later. If we don't want to deal with that, we can split, get a 2-space no matter how he plays. That can be fine too.
So normally I would approach. I very rarely play split.
Splits
don't
aren't
seem to
very
work.
common these days. I'm not surprised about that. Yeah.
But I will play the split.
Okay. If we're gonna split, normally we'd go low and not high here, but this is okay.
But I went high here because there is a reason. Uh, I have a lot of stones on the bottom side of the board that are already low, and a being on the fourth line will let me run into the center a little bit more.
Okay. I should mention, those of you watching on YouTube, they cannot see my marks or my variations through the game. That's just for y'all. Here again, I'd be tempted to play low rather than high because I like the idea that I'm kind of starting to get close to that cutting point of his. That might help me out later. But
if I cut,
oh yeah, cutting probably won't work. But it's nice to get in the area where we can begin thinking about it. Like right now, it's okay. You got a group, it's not being surrounded, shouldn't be getting killed, so it's all right. I anticipate he might enclose the upper left. He could go for a framework on top next move. He's probably not going to attack you. It's hard to say. And you don't have anything that's really weak right now. So I guess he's going to think about it. And I guess I'll just mention that I'm also, for the sake of the video, for those watching, I am marking some of the moves that I'm thinking are going to be played. Red is going to be for white, and blue is going to be for black. That's just kind of for the future. We can kind of see big moves that may not be played.
Well, did you still want me to do an introduction? I can do that.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, you like immediately went into the game. Sure. While we're waiting here, go ahead and introduce yourself. Sorry about that.
Sorry for the poor timing. I am Celeste. I've been playing Go since 2018. I started playing because I watched an anime that got me interested in Japanese board games, and shogi seemed too hard. So
shogi seemed too hard, so you were like, "Let's go with Go instead."
Yeah.
Good choice.
That makes sense, right?
Good choice. Yeah, I like it.
So we have the Sanrensei. My instinct here is to approach on the left board because if he backs off into his framework, then I can back off into my enclosure and get an extension off of my.
Yeah, with Sanrensei, we know one of two things. If we approach and they back off, then we can back off, and we can keep growing. That's fine. If we approach and they pincer and we go into the corner, then we get Sente, and that can be okay too. It'll be a game where we have to reduce a lot, so there'll be multiple invasions that we have to perform, but we know what we're getting. Now, I know it's suboptimal. Sometimes you'll see in my games when I'm up against Sanrensei, I won't approach and I'll just do something like slow, like expand on the left-hand side, just so I'm not getting approached, pincered into like having to reduce a lot later on. That is okay. If any of you try it in your own games, it's probably going to be a little bit slow. But yes, that definitely works. I'm anticipating maybe a pincer, or if he's Japanese oriented, he might cap you. Nope, pincer. Okay.
Right into the corner.
Whoa. What do you think of that move?
This is pretty standard.
Actually, it's pretty standard if K16 was not already on the field, because you want to build the wall towards your stones, right? But here, he's pushing you towards the stone he already has on the board. So this is actually kind of weird to see. And now Joseki here should be straightforward as well.
So, question about the Joseki here. Is it more optimal to extend and then play B16? Or play B16 first?
B16 first, yes. Because after you play B16, you're not going to extend. You're going to do a 1-point jump after you connect. because now he has to fix, and then you can jump, so we don't have to extend. We got, because we don't want to push from behind if we can avoid it. So here, this sequence is designed so as soon as humanly possible, we can do a 1-point jump so we're not pushing from behind.
So here I've been shoulder hit, so I'll just extend.
Yep. Now the question here is, what should we be contemplating here as black? What are some things that we want to try to do on this board if we get a chance to?
I want to play a stone around 8-4, because I have stones on either side of it, and that won't directly connect them, but it'll get pretty close to making territory at the bottom of the board. And it should match the tempo of the top stone.
That, I would say, is actually pretty slow, because you're right, it does potentially give you some territory. That's absolutely true. But it's Gote, it's open to invasion, and doesn't give you an insane amount of points. Whereas right now, we can see what is our opponent doing. Our opponent is trying to build the upper right, because he has an enclosure and he has extension. He's trying to build the left, because he has a wall and it's extending from it. So my fear here would be, if we play on the bottom of the board right now, he's going to play every forcing move at his disposal to keep you low, and to just keep trying to grow the middle. So instead of just the top or the left that we have to reduce, it's like everything above the K4 line or something, because we're just getting locked out of there. So here, I would forego trying to make a framework, because I think it's more important to keep reducing some large area that he has with any forcing moves that we can we can find.
So for invasion points that I'm looking at, there's Q18 that I don't know how to play, so I'm not going to play it.
Q18's not bad. It's a little bit dated right now. Just actually, I'll go ahead and mention it. We would probably do P18 instead, because it has a nice little Miai thing to it. He can either drop down or do something else, and you'll either get life on the side or you'll get life directly into his corner. Yeah, P18 we don't see very often, though we used to. What's some other ideas you had?
N17.
N17. Any ideas why I don't like N17?
Because it can be extend up.
Yeah, extending up is pretty much all it can do, right? Like, if we play N17, we have to ask ourselves, how is that move going to live? And yeah, it's gonna have to run away. It's not really threatening to go into the corner. It's not really threatening a base. It's just starting to run away. So your opponent will usually notice that, prevent you from running away, and then we have to try to live in an area that we've already said that's kind of hard, if not impossible, to live in. So it's known as a what is it? A kind of a middle move. Like, it's not threatening to go into the corner. It's not really attacking anything. It's just placed in between your opponent's stones. So we usually try to avoid that. I like even your Q18 or P18 idea better than that if we were going to play there. Any other invasion points on this board?
So not really an invasion point today, but G15.
G15. G15 is very dangerous. It's a small knight off of your one stone, right?
It is, but
So you can imagine white's going to probably push, which is opening up your cutting points. Yeah. And then at some point he's going to be able to cut. So if we're going to do that, we're going to just full on extend up instead of play the small knight, because the small knight is just going to be bad shape and creates cutting points and liberty shortages and just huge headache.
Okay. There's also C10, which can connect on the side or extend up into the middle.
Okay. I think I think that about covers it for the invasion points. I like the ones that we have identified, obviously minus the ones that we've thrown away. Like, I wouldn't play Q18 and I wouldn't play G15, but the P18 or the F16 to extend, or your invasion on the left-hand side, I think all of those are definitely playable. And it does what we want it to do and starts to reduce the potential that white has, which is our top concern right now.
Bit of an unorthodox move for me playing this move, but I don't hate it.
Yeah, so this one's fairly straightforward. He attached to your stone, so we just get to extend to threaten to cut through him. He'll say you can't do that, and then we get an extension now. Lovely little 2-space. Hence the appeal of this particular move. We kind of just like get in and live or get out. It's pretty cool. Okay. Take another forcing move. I like this one because we're isolating K16. So between your group that's a base on the left and your corner in the upper left, which is obviously immortal, he has to be a little bit careful of K16 being all by its lonesome.
Hane.
Will he double Hane or will he cut? There are some tricky things you can do here as white that can spell disaster if we fall for them. It should be a safe play. But anytime we have cut points, there's a chance that, you know, something can go wrong if we respond incorrectly.
Is there anything I can still do with the stone at C14?
C14 is now mostly being delegated as a co-threat because, I mean, it's outnumbered like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like what, 9 to 1, something like that? Yeah, that is one really dead stone. Okay, so see that we've capped here. You could have extended once more because of the Hane that had 2 and 3 stones that I mentioned previously.
Oh,
Weirdly enough, we sorry, what were you saying?
The only reason I decided to cap now is because I thought if I extended, then he'd extend too.
Yeah.
And my goal is to isolate the stone and make territory.
Reasonable, reasonable. He doesn't think your cap is Sente. Oh ho ho. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so what should we do here, do you think? What is our thought process? What's going through your head right now?
So my first thought is to return Hane because I'm that connects my 2 stones back to. But I'm worried that that'll just get through and extend and problems.
All right, so my thinking is more simplistic. I played a cap. I think when I cap and attack something, my opponent should respond to me. Otherwise, I'm going to play a more severe follow-up and show him why that was a bad idea. So he capped me right now. I ignored him. I want to follow up to make sure that he regrets that from K16. So otherwise, because the reason why I want to do that is because if he can ignore my cap, then it feels, especially this early in the game where we're still just shy of 50 moves, if I'm playing a move against their stone that they can ignore, then it seems like either that move was slow or it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do or something along of those lines, because my attacks this early in the game should have a consequence for being ignored. So you capped him. He ignored you. I personally don't like the follow-up because if you Hane, he might change his mind right now. If you Hane, he might be like, oh, wait, my stone, and then help K16. And I don't want to give him that opportunity.
Makes sense.
So, yeah. I like your, exactly. I like your cap. I think it wasn't a bad move. He ignored it, so this is the consequence. It can't run away anymore. And it can't live locally. I suspect he's going to try to cut you right now and get into one of those little tricksy things that I mentioned. Is that what he's going to do? It's hard to say. I might have played this move at L14 instead. This is famously what I get in trouble with. I can't decide if I need to do a more severe follow-up or a better shape follow-up move to limit the Aji, but yeah, I like fundamentally M15. Question is, does he like M15? Did he think you were going to respond? Maybe. Okay. Ideas here?
Just extend to J13 or J14. Or
That'll probably be safe. It's hard to judge between that and J15. Like, yeah, even I can't figure out which one's better.
It's also H16. I was thinking of
that. I don't like so much. I think that's a little bit too passive. I like your initial reaction. I think it's going to be safe, and if it's not, I apologize. I think it should be fine. Like, I don't see how he's gonna like cut through all the things with just the one stone there. But this might be like the one time in a million where J15 would be better, and it's just like, oh, well, oops. But yeah, so far we have some territory, which is good. He's building left-hand side, but it's okay. He was always going to get territory somewhere. Okay, so he's pushing now. Interesting. Why not D4?
because I felt leaving a cutting point with him having that much strength there was probably not so good.
Okay. In this case, it's perfectly safe because the ladder just works, and there was just no Aji in there. What is your opponent doing right now?
Building the Sente.
Exactly. So as soon as we have Sente, where are we going to play?
F4.
F4, 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 F4. F4 seems to be suggesting that he gets to have everything above the fourth line. Because he's trying to build the middle. F4 is a move that is threatening to get into the middle. So I'm a little bit less happy about that one. I want a move that is more into the middle.
I could play on the sector line between...
Let's go with forcing moves first. Do we have any forcing moves in that middle? Because even if we don't live with that one stone, we could threaten to connect it up, which could give us free moves, which is always nice. So even if it's a little bit too deep, as long as it's forcing, it can still have a value.
The only one I'm seeing is the peep at E7.
I like the peep a lot. Uh-huh. Because he's going to respond.
What I expected to be responded to, or...
Should respond to... Yeah. Okay. Now, this is a shape problem. What do you think your next move is going to be? Gotta think about shape.
So if I extend, I block the table shape. If I turn down, he has to connect solidly. I could jump once to look at the cutting point and start capping these groups of stones.
Okay. As long as we're thinking about shape and either moves he has to respond to or moves that get us out of here, we're probably doing good. Okay, I see that we're jumping. This is getting close to his little large knight, and large knights can be cut, or we can get a free move threatening to cut. So, okay.
Now, would you cut at G4 from here, or would you go something?
G4. Right now, the only thing that matters to me is making sure this black group in the middle does not die. So, depending on where he plays next, I'll probably, if I can, and it helps me get out a little bit more, I might play a move that threatens to cut rather than aim to cut directly, just so I can keep escaping. Because the reason why I wouldn't cut directly is he might attempt to go for like some kind of exchange where he separates you and gives up maybe like those bottom 2 stones in exchange for, you know, your middle 4. I don't want any exchanges. I just want to get this group to safety with any force moves that I can. Because if I live in this area, I'm doing pretty well. Because we got the top area, which is nice and big. Bottom left-hand corner, which is okay. The bottom right is nice, solid, happy group. Your right group is stable with some pretty good endgame potential to it. So yeah, right now, win or lose, as long as this group is doing is all nice and healthy and doing well, we shouldn't be bad off, especially against the 3Q. And double, especially considering you've been having a little bit of troubles lately in your games.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a large knight into a 2-space extension.
So
He wants to kill you.
My first instinct is to play h5, but that's also a knight's move, and I hear that can get you in trouble.
Yeah, that one require a lot of reading.
So I'm gonna play g5.
Okay, I can see it's got some forcing potential. This could be good. This could be good. What do you think now?
So f6 is a forcing move to connect.
Actually, hold that thought. Is f6 really a forcing move? Because your stone has 2 liberties. Couldn't he Atari you first if you play f6?
Oh, at h5.
Yeah.
But if I play h5, he stands up and cuts off the 3 stone.
At this point, that is true. And I'm going to be honest, not a lot we can do about that. But it does let you cut through the thing that he ignores, so...
I was also thinking about connecting solidly at g6.
I would love to do that, but
get the bamboo joint, and you're still threatening to cut. And
yeah,
go...
at that point, though, the only way out is to, like, cut through his 2-space to live, and I'm not sure if I, yeah, I'm not sure if we could... Oh. Okay.
Threaten cut.
So, I think I see... I won't distract you with it. The review is going to be interesting. It sounds like right now, some of the shape issues are what you're having the most amount of trouble with. I'd have to review some of your games to see if that's consistent. But it looks like it's some shape stuff, which is a good thing because those are pretty easy to remedy. But yeah, right now he's attaching to you. We don't want to get distracted with any nonsense that he's playing there. He defended his cut point. Okay, great. We're still trying to not be dead here. So what is our next move in our not being dead sequence?
I'm looking at the bamboo joint. I'm looking at a jump to f. Those are the only 2 things I can...
I'm not a fan of the jump so much. I think there's potential in the bamboo. There are a few other moves that might have worked. Yeah, I think there were 2, maybe 3 ways for this to live. I think this is one of them. Because you are threatening 2 eyes, like, right now. Or an escape. So it's just like, whatever.
So your opponent's... next move I'm looking at here is k5.
k5. It's hard to say what our next move is going to be until I know what he's going to... Okay, he's going to play that one to try to keep killing you. So, clearly we're not playing k5. Ideas for now?
F.
Sorry, what? You cut out?
F9.
F9. That actually, I think, is okay too. Yeah, actually, that'll actually work. Sure, yeah, because you've got. So do you know why that actually works?
It's making eye shape.
It is making eye shape, and if he plays h6 right now to try to kill you, what would you play?
H6 kill. I'd probably give up the 2 stones.
Mm-hmm. And you'd play what instead?
H9.
I would probably play the elongated table, the J9. That way we're out from being behind enemy lines and we still have our shape. But yeah, that's why essentially it works. Because I don't see a way for him to stop that in Sente. So I don't see how he can kill you. So yeah, I'm always thinking about, like, where is the next move in the shape coming from? I don't see a way for him to stop all the ways that you're threatening to make shape right now. And he's got to balance that with the fact that if this is alive and it starts going to the left, I mean, that's more reduction off of him. So is he going to defend the left, or is he going to let you go? Is he going to keep trying to kill you? What's he going to do? Because he has to know that you have a lot of points from that top of the board. Okay. So that was a fast move.
It seemed like the only response.
I probably would have played that elongated table again instead of the next move, because we're about to play it right now, right?
Oh, I was gonna connect.
Oh.
Because the connect gives the 4 stones more liberties.
If you, I can tell you right now that if you connect that, he'll probably play either a Hane at H8 right now, or maybe even your shape point at H9 directly. So if you're gonna play it, make sure that you can live. You might be able to. I haven't read it out. That is the safer option, yeah. Unfortunately, we should have played it previous move, because the minute he poked at that shape, the Mii for that was to just leave, right? Because if we're gone, we don't need that eye that we just protected.
Yeah, I definitely played fast there, but it felt like such a natural response to the move played.
That's probably the other part of what's causing trouble. Because, like, the beginning of the game, I saw a lot of fast play. Here, in life and death positions, we definitely want to take our time and make sure that we understand the shapes that we're making and what's really being fought over. And what happens is, the longer we play the game, the more something looks like it's an obvious response, which then holds us back, because we need some of those obvious responses are bad responses, and we need to identify them and get rid of them. But if we're instinctively responding back to them, it takes us longer to identify that and, correct the problem there. Okay, so he's bailing. He realizes that you're alive. So if he realizes that you are alive, what does that mean for you?
Sente.
And where are the big moves?
There's J12. There's a cap at P14. There's a forcing move at R7.
I admit.
There's a move at O7.
I admit I do like forcing moves. I would definitely play a forcing move first before playing a Gote move. Like you mentioned, some connects and caps and whatnot. I would definitely want to play my forcing moves before playing one of those, because there's a good chance that one of those might be Gote.
Also have to admit, I am looking at connecting at G6 and then threatening to K4.
I admit I was too.
That seems like a pretty good plan.
Because now that you're out, if he lets you push and cut, that's a problem. He should have Atari'd here just for Sente. Because you Atari the 4 stones, you connect, and then you could have defended the left-hand side. That would probably have been a little bit better. So, oops for him not doing that. Because, yeah, now he probably has to respond to that, or you can probably cut through him or something nasty. Yeah. What if I were to tell you there's one more Sente move on the right side of the board?
I have no idea where it is.
Let's see. Sometimes caps are Sente. Shoulder hits are sometimes Sente. Attachments are almost always Sente. Obviously along with cuts and Atari and things like that. This move is an interesting one. What's this one say?
So this is a shoulder hit. So we're expecting a response. White still thinks they can have the middle.
Yeah, I think he thinks he can kill your middle group still, but I don't see that happening. So it's a little bit of an odd move, in my opinion. Or maybe he's just doing a longabout way of protecting the push and cut there. Maybe this way he thinks the push and cut won't be able to go anywhere, so he doesn't defend against it. That could be a thing. Hard to say.
Just gonna play P9, create a cutting point.
P9. Okay. Now, will he give you Sente? I think he will, because those cutting points seem kind of, yeah, kind of big. You cut instantly. Interesting. Why'd we cut instantly?
It seemed like the right move. Like I I forced a cut. He protected one side, so it's
but you see that what we're doing with the cut is all we're doing there is just ensuring that he can't throw in our base while creating 2 cutting points for him. After he could no longer get the throwing move on the inside to kill us, then we had Sente to play elsewhere. Yep, Hane up, good. Because yeah, this is dead. You're his stone, not your group, just for the record.
Yeah, he just dropped 2.
Yeah, he might think that he could maybe get a cut into a extend, sacrifice the 2, and then throw in kind of thingy. But I don't think that's going to work.
Starting to run a little low on time. I'll probably start a bit fast.
30 seconds is a lot of time in Byoyomi. 30 seconds per move is actually quite lengthy. You could run out another game for at least another good 30 minutes just by taking 30 seconds per move. Or more. Okay, so it's attacking your bottom group now. What do you know about this Hane?
What do you mean?
The minute we played the Hane, we can expect to end in Gote, because you're going to defend it. So I probably would have tried to play Sente move first, which is literally the one that he just played. Because yeah, now he's going to get a couple of forcing moves here, which is a little unfortunate. Okay, yeah. Cut should be irrelevant, so it's fine. Ooh, he's reading it out, though. He wants to. Maybe he's going to Hane or attach? What's he got cooking up in his head? What you got cooking there, sir? He does not like that you have points. Okay. How do we answer this move?
My instinct is to Hane L18.
That is creating a cutting point, which can be dangerous. If you Hane, he's going to cut you, and then I think he's probably going to kill off your PS18 stones or Atari's Way to Freedom. So my first instinct is to just extend. That way I'm not creating cutting points for him to work against. As long as I don't have Sente, he should not be able to live here. There should be no life on this part of the board. Okay.
Oh yeah,
should have mentioned
also an elephant.
Yeah. That's another reason why I would have drawn back the other way. Because there's an elephant eye, there's no more cutting points, everything's great. Here, now I'm worried about N17. And having to read that sequence out. I think you'll be okay.
Oh, I didn't even think about the clamp at 018.
One of a lot of reasons why my first instinct was to draw back at N17, just to look after my shape and make sure my groups are connected. Because as long as my groups are connected, I don't believe he can live in there. That he has like a bad shape still. There's a very, very finite number of force moves, and it's just across like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 lines on the second if he's lucky, and that just doesn't make 2 eyes. These areas are definitely where you want to spend your 30 seconds, even if you're in Byoyomi, just to make sure that you like understand where all the cutting points are and how many moves they need to live wherever they just placed a stone. Do you find players who throw in like this a lot to try to do like last minute life in your areas?
So it's not as common to do a move like but it is very common for me to make an area in the middle of the board and just have that hacked pieces,
Mm.
and then I lose because I have no more points.
It's a shame this didn't turn into that kind of game. Those games are actually a lot of fun to go over. Because a lot of times in those kind of games, it's more about letting them hack you to pieces and just reducing what they have. Because the longer they spend reducing you, the less they spend making points. So at the end of the game, they tend not to have very much if they've spent the whole rest of it just trying to reduce. Like they'll have like a 3-3 invasion and maybe a corner enclosure. And if the like 90% of the rest of the moves are just reductions, that's usually not enough to win. It's fine. He can use his time. Okay, he's given up. Yep. Will he connect it back? Okay. So... Okay. Taking away his force move from him. I can get down with that, sure. I like it.
I really want to play J5.
J5? What is J5?
So
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah.
see if I can't take the 3 stones off the board.
That one's pretty big. I'm a bit aggressive. I'm also eyeing something as simple as the turn at N11, actually. Because when we look at his stone right there, we're always identifying the shape. He played M13, which is a large knight. Okay, cool. Where else can it connect to? 3 space extension on the left? That seems a little far. And however many space extension on the right. That's a little far too. So I'm wondering where that's connecting back to. Because the territory all around M13 is not insignificant if it gets cut off.
I have to admit that I was also looking at N9, the direct.
N9 seems really friggin' aggressive. Hello. Okay. Got my attention. I see a lot of ways to answer this.
It's gonna drop down L18.
That seems the easiest, yeah. There was an argument to be made for the bamboo joint at L15, just to make sure I can't do any weird pushing and cutting shenanigans, because I still don't believe he can live up on top of the board. But yeah, this one is by far the easiest to look at. He might be aiming for the push and cut at H14, because he knows there's a cutting point at G5, at G16 that we have to respond a very specific way.
Oh, on the 2 stones?
Yeah. If he cuts you at G16, for example, we have to respond to it in a very specific way because we also have E17 to be worried about. So there's a little bit of a mess there, but it should be safe. It should be safe.
So G16.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, I'd probably respond with G17.
Yep.
Then he extends.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Here he's going for it. Okay. And now he's gonna cut. Oh, he's gonna do that one. Nani? Okay. Well, thread over.
Isn't that stone dead?
It is. It's a weird way to go about it.
So here's something I always do. I connect back to D18 or do I Atari at G8?
Personally, I would just Atari here because I don't want any weird liberty issues coming up with those cutting stones. Yeah, this is gonna be okay. Right. And then the push and cuts aren't gonna work. Uh-huh. Yeah, he's on to something. What are you on to, sir? Uh-huh. Is he gonna go for the cut? There's two options here. I'm not sure which ones he's going for. He's going for the cut directly. Okay. Oh. Okay. I would have killed that stone too. I don't think any of it worked. Yeah, here gets a little bit of a surround, a little bit of a wraparound, I guess. Yeah, we lost out a little bit here. Oh, giving up the two stones. Unfortunately, now we lost out a lot here. When we get to this point, we might as well just go ahead and push again, because the stones were already sacrificed.
I was looking to see if maybe there was a better.
Yeah, we'll look at the variations here in yield review. And for the purposes of chat, or YouTube, I should say, at this point, since we're mostly going to be doing endgame from here on, I'll probably just do a little bit of a time lapse, and I will see you guys all in review. There you go. All right. Interesting game from both. Are you there, Mr. Awesome Body?
Yeah.
All right. Just lower your volume a little. Okay. So get rid of my marks. And you're both in the review. Cool. So the game here was interesting. As I mentioned during the game, having an idea of how we want to open is just a question usually of, are we going for influence or territory? this says we're more inclined to be going for territory than influence. That can adjust what we want to do in the beginning slightly. For example, when he plays here, if you play like two-space closure, for example, or two-space closure, then if you block here, then it's really easy to understand that we want influence to make this thing really, really big. But if we specifically didn't want to do that and we were really aiming for more of a territorial opening, maybe we just block this way just to ensure that he can't ever count up his stones ever, and we keep playing more for a territorial game than an influential game. It doesn't really matter. What really matters is here. You went for Sente, sorry, as opposed to playing this one, which I think is completely fine as well. This lovely little Jiseki. You decided to play this one, fighting for Sente, which is completely a-okay. But I noticed white fought back. Is that why you wanted to play here? Were you looking for Sente as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So here you could do one of two things. You could Hane first, and then play away, and that's okay too. At worst they could Atari here. Usually they don't, but they just make this one into this one later on. But that just gives you Sente again, so it's not the end of the world, and forcing moves here and what have you. So not that bad. If you really want to be stubborn about it, though, you can extend again, because this turn is pretty huge. So they'll usually play it again, and then we can just full on extend again to see if they're ever going to stop this and back off so you can go off and play something else. It gets weird. Some of the games that just like get into these weird extending fests, they're strange. Playing away here, though, was unfortunately really bad in the beginning for black, because, yeah, if we played here like you wanted, we can anticipate the Hane had 2 and 3 stones. And from here, it's just, do we really like what we're seeing if white's getting like the right and now influence along that little 7th line here? We're getting territory on the bottom, sure, but a lot of development for white. So really important.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah, so to stop that from happening, I would just Hane here and then play away. If you wanted to build at the bottom, you can. If you wanted to play away, you can. But it stops that double Hane head at 2 and 3, which is super important. So that's why we played here, because if they think they can take Sente, we can always take note. We can't cut here yet. We're just dead. Sad. But we can start putting a lot of pressure on this group that is essentially barely alive as is. It's like really, really tiny, and we can kind of harass it, so it's nice. Extending is okay, but it's Gote. It's weird and very rarely played anymore, but I'm tempted to play more of this one because it's harder to actually peep the cutting point here. It just doesn't make any sense. And it's also threatening to keep getting more territory here. So I prefer this one. The AI probably prefers just the Tiger Mouth probably, but whatever. This I didn't like a little bit because black can think about playing something in here later on, like we kind of saw, which then just seeks to further reduce the corner. So it's kind of unfortunate. As mentioned, this I would go low. That way we've got nice easy base no matter how our opponents respond. Cassandra says fine. Now this actually surprised me. Why did you block this way and not this way?
I don't know. I just like the other Joseki better.
Here, I would absolutely block this way without even thinking about it. Because it's not do that, hello. Because this way, we just get to build with our K16 stone, which I like. And later on, I might even be able to still get that extension that you liked, the shoulder hit here. So this is completely fine to me. This seems like an opportunity lost because now I don't really know what K16 is doing, and you'll notice in the like very, very shortly on, not only that, but Black was able to cut off K16, and then it had to either run away and live or just flat out and die. And that's very, very unfortunate. I will mention, since this is something that comes up a lot, that yes, responding to this is the most natural thing in the history of ever. I do agree. Absolutely. But it's also very, very common right now to just kind of ignore it, because the drop down isn't that severe if you've got severe moves of your own. It's counterintuitive. It's not basic. I very rarely mention it. I usually just say, sure, respond to shoulder hits and caps and things like that. But this usually generates some kind of fight nowadays. But I think this is fine. Normally I would play this and then just see how white wants to defend the cutting points. They drop down. I'll probably cut without even thinking about it, because this is a pretty straightforward battle in the middle of the board. This was easy live.
Wait, question.
If
you go back to the wedge between D6 and D8, why would white respond E7, not C7?
If you respond here, the stone's dead, and this one's now needs defense. So we just get to keep pushing for more and more middle influence, which I really, really like here. Nice, easy growth at the bottom of the board. So it makes for a bit of an odd game. Some games, you might actually even see this one, specifically if there's more room here. So we could aim for like some kind of pincer here. Can't do it on this board because C12 is so close. But we could probably do this one at the very least. And yeah, that puts a damper on white's attempt to grow. And we just get to get nice little shape. 7th, 8th line. Immediate reduction has to occur. And yeah, not bad. So we got here. As mentioned, I'd probably play here. Yes, I expect this to run away. I will probably Hane immediately, because if they Hane again, I can follow. And you can see here that it's just kind of crunching white's position back to the 3rd line. And this group here is still in trouble, right? It's still just a running little stick. So I'm completely fine with this result. The cap, however, I do like. And I think it's a must for you to have defended here. I can't see giving this up right now. I mean, it might mean white gets, or black gets to connect. But yeah, I don't see any other possibility here. Letting that stone get killed is so huge. Did you think this was going to be Sente?
Yeah.
Ah, I see. Yeah, if this was Sente, and then we get to go back and defend it, that'd be a pretty good sequence, getting our forcing moves first. Sure, sure. But yeah, definitely not. There, yeah. I still can't decide if this or this is better. I think this is fine. As you noticed later on, it does create some kind of weird thing here, but as long as there's nothing there, and I don't think there is anything, it should be okay. Because like right now, it just goes into an easy capture. So I think the shape there is fine. This is fine too, because as mentioned, this just goes for easy capture. I like the lean here to grow the middle. That said, I do not like the ignore of the poke. Like this, I think, is what really allowed white to, or what allowed black to capitalize on the solid territory that's on top of the board and the bottom. The fact that suddenly black can turn around and start pressuring multiple white groups. Now, the one thing that I had to really stop myself from mentioning, and you'll probably kick yourself when you see it, you wanted to, if I remember correctly, you wanted to jump out or you wanted to poke, and you went with the poke. That, however, is the one that you were looking for, because he can't extend because it goes into a snap. So he's got to connect, which allows you to Hane anyway, and then suddenly there's just no time for him to get in any kind of weird, any kind of weird caps on your position, because all of your moves are forcing. So yeah, this, oops, this, hello, you, there we go. This, such an important move to have missed. Like, even if you don't Hane, just like the 1 point jump here into this, and we're just fine. And now this whole group is in trouble because he can't really try to attack you when this whole area is kind of still looking for life. So yeah, allowing that connection there, or that cut rather, way too big. This one stone won't be alive with one more move. Like, you're still going to be able to attack it. You want to make sure that you're strong so you can counterattack. In fact, what I was advising here is after the connect to go onto the sector line is what I was going to say. That way we can encourage white, perhaps, just to keep accepting their territory, giving us nice little outside reduction and some strength. Something kind of like that. Like, we can't go in that deep normally, but if we have a threat to like reduce all of the things if we connect up, then these little forcing moves start having a lot of value to them. But yeah, this was tough. Same thing for here. Can't extend up because whoopsie daisy. So both of you missed the exact same shape. And then this is too much. Large knight into 2 space means we can't hold, because that just isn't going to allow it. That's just going to go as killed. And if we go here and then like defend, like you can see how all the shape problems just start popping up again one after another. So yeah, gotta be careful of the shape. And then here, I was going to just go and recommend this one because, yeah, as you noticed, the cut there is a bit of an issue. But if they're busy defending here, then they aren't trying to kill you anymore. So I like that you were looking at this. But yeah, I think we had a slightly better moves here. And then here, like I mentioned, you could go into a table shape. That way we're just nice, alive, out. This was a little unfortunate. I like that one. And then this really baffled me. Like, I like white's moves here. I'm confused as to why you didn't play the forcing move. Because it is forcing move, right? Because we can't allow this kind of thing. Otherwise we dead. So yeah, omitting that move was really huge. Because here into like here, that's not an insignificant number of points. Especially when we're like this close to endgame. Like 12 points in the middle of the board right there, that's good enough. We take that, easy. That's a corner enclosure right there you got for free. So yeah, forcing moves, definitely your friend. Here, that move's dead, so we just go ahead and play here. Because yeah, no matter what we play, there's just nothing, in my opinion, that's gonna get white alive up there. And then this, I don't think that does anything, because once you Atari, still completely fine, right? So I think these stones sadly are just dead. And not giving that wraparound is definitely huge. And all we have to do to notice this is realize, oh, hey, this is we've got life on top of the board because M18 is dead. That's Sente. And yeah, after that, we're fine. I think that's the last large point in the... Oh, wait, no, there's one other thing. I'm probably cutting it out of the video. But after this, you both went insane. Okay, where to start? So right now... this just works. Because if black plays this to try to kill you, we have the Atari. Into the Atari, it's not sexy, but I mean, whatever gets the job done. Like, we just go in Atari our way to freedom. Normally, we hate Atari to freedom, but the moves work, so the moves just work. There's just too many points to not be able to hold the kill there. But then it went to Ko, which is just like a 40-point Ko, so that's always going to be worth big points. This was your follow-up that you were looking for, because then you could do something like this one. I think. Yeah, this works, right? Bop, bop, Atari. Yeah. Yeah, that works. So yeah, one is big. That was a bit of a mistake, because then after the Atari, you have to connect again, which hurts. And then from here, I mean, black won. That's just still nice and dead. The Atari here is huge. The Atari here is huge. And then the Hane here is even larger, because this can't be cut. Because we get to this point where those stones are now just dead. Too many cut points to keep rearing up over and over and over again. And yeah, it can't be held. So this is huge. This is Sente. That's huge again. We can kind of poke in here. We can kind of poke in here. We can do the poking through here. Threaten to save stones. Maybe poke in some more. Rough. Too much reduction going on. And now I think black wins the game. Any questions from either of you?
Nope.
So I've been playing the 4-4-3-4 enclosure. I think you mentioned called the Orthodox opening a lot. What is like a typical what is the proper way to follow up this board position from here?
So from here, obviously we can't determine what's happening next. It all depends on what your opponent wants to play next. So usually, as you saw, there's a lot of 3-3ing going on right now. And I think you handle that very, very well. As long as we are very familiar with the Joseki here, and whether or not we're going to back off. If they play the normal Sente sequence, which is going to be the small knight here, then we can just go off and back off. Or we can play away. Like, this position is done as is, and we can go off and approach almost wherever we want. We can counter 3-3. Just have fun, do whatever. If we don't care, and I usually don't, and I promise this works even up to 7 and 8 Dawn, you could just take the old school variation, because white getting like 7-8 points here, I mean, that's not a lot given that you've got an 8th line wall right now. Which means if you extend this wall, like even to here, you're going to get the points that you were stolen from, right? Because that's 2, 4, 6, 8, and that's 7 or 8. So that's all you need to equal this what you had robbed from you.
But
So,
Josh,
yar.
what if they're P5?
P5. Yeah, true. Crazy people
What
will
if they do
peep.
that?
Just don't
See,
connect. Yep, just don't connect the peep. Don't connect the peep. Usually I will... I'm kind of torn. I like descending, but I hate getting into the fights over the Sente moves here. So I've been just doing this one now. Technically, you could do this one. And if they cut, you can do the Hane into something like this one. But again, I'm not really comfortable with the shapes that we're making here. I think it's just easy enough to just play this one, because again, we're going to get the 8, probably 12 points off this wall, which it's more than they took from us. And there's a weak group, so it's fine.
And I promise you, your opponents will pause for a good 15 to 20 seconds, because it's a false threat. They're not going to cut, and if they do, they're insane.
Yeah,
There's
it's a scam. They don't actually want to do it. If they go here, it's like
Play 07. Yeah.
I don't like 07 because it allows it for the push. What I would do here, actually, I would detend. At this point, they have a choice. Respond here and probably die. Or they could run away, I guess. Maybe this way, but this gives you a larger wall to work with against these 2 stones. They can't push on the 4th line because 4 is greater than 4th line territory is much larger than 2nd line territory.
You're going to be chasing them around the whole entire game, and it's going to be excellent.
Or they'll just give you so much territory you don't even care anymore. You get to play this later half the time. Hello? I mean, it's not dead, but it's like 3 points at this point. So it's like, okay, whatever you want to do there, buddy. But yeah, it is pretty sad. If they approach here, I'll usually just back off. We usually get Sente out of this. Even if they play something like this one, we get Sente. We can just keep playing, big moves elsewhere. That's fine. What else can they do here? They could push on the outside, and I'm fine with just developing there. That's fine too.
Yeah, that's what normally in my...
Yeah, and then from here, you can ignore or not. It really doesn't matter. This is something that I usually play in basics anyway.
Yeah,
technically,
I feel very uncomfortable playing away from this position.
As long as you recognize you have Miai, they take your 3/3, you extend, you're still fine. Unless that's taken away, you're okay. Usually I just play this because it's nice and simple. And I mean, later on you can do this too. The reason why pros stopped playing here initially is because they didn't know if they want this move or not, or if they wanted to pincer and then get into this variation where they're getting influence instead. So this was kind of looked at as slow in Ajikashi to actually make that exchange right now. But especially for amateurs, this is fine. This is absolutely fine. Any other questions? If there's other questions, then thanks for the game. Question for you now. Are you interested in doing this again next week? That is a question to you, Celeste.
Yes, I am interested.
Okay, cool. Then I hope everyone on YouTube enjoys tuning in next week for more games with my guinea pig. I mean, Celeste. See you then.